Hey guys, Katie from the Katie Show blog here, and today we are talking about preparing for your first ever solo trip. Now, it's no surprise that I love solo travel. I think it's something everyone should try at least once in their life. There's a lot of good things you can get from it. It's liberating, it teaches you a lot about yourself, it helps you with your problem solving. It's just a good time to be able to focus on things you want to do, and I'm a big fan of it, obviously. I'm gonna split these up over 3 videos, so you don't have to sit through like one super long video about solo travel. So the first one, we will do how to prepare for your solo trip and focus on the things you need to do before you even go on the holiday, right? Second video, we're gonna focus on solo travel tips for while you're on the holiday. And then the third, and maybe the hardest one, we'll focus on how to talk to your parents about solo travel, because that can be pretty difficult sometimes, right? Let's get into it. All right, so how to prepare for your first ever solo trip. First thing you need to do is pick a destination, right? So what I would suggest, if it's your first ever solo trip, start in baby steps. Right? You don't have to go to like the middle of nowhere to a place that doesn't speak your language and makes things much more challenging for you. You could start your solo adventures with a little weekend away. You could do it to somewhere easy that sort of speaks the same language, and it's going to be a smooth introduction into solo travel. Pick a destination that you can take baby steps into it. It gets addictive, so like before you know it, you'll just be going wherever you want. But I definitely suggest, with any goal you're trying to achieve, you should always, sort of take gradual steps to achieving. So one thing you need to do is register with the government agency. Oh my gosh, can you see my dog in the background? She's killing her teddy bear. So yeah, register with the government agency for your country. So for Americans, I think it's Travel State. For Australians, for me, it's smarttraveller.gov.au. So once you've picked your dates, you've booked your tickets, definitely register with them. That just means that in the worst case scenario, there's a natural disaster or something goes wrong, they already know to look for you there. And it's going to save a lot of time than having like your family trying to call through and get a hold of someone to let them know they need to come and find you. Definitely register with them first. The next thing you need to do is establish a line of communication. I think this is different for different holidays, depending on where you're going and things like that. But I think it's really important to have somebody dedicated to being your check-in buddy. So they just know to expect a text from you sort of in the morning or in the evening, whatever time you set up, just to let them know you're okay. So what I usually do is just send a quick text in the morning. Hey, I'm doing good. I'm going to like these places during the day, and I'll talk to you again whenever the next check-in is. Like sometimes it's every day, maybe it'll be twice a day, whatever works for you, right? It's just a good handy thing to have someone keeping track of you, even though you're doing solo travel, we can't do these things on our own, and it's good to have somebody keeping account for you. You're just covering your bases for the worst case scenario. Don't let the worst case scenario stop you from going, but definitely be smart about managing that they can actually happen. Having someone knowing, your rough whereabouts of where you might be and expecting a check-in from you, it just means that worst case scenario, something happens to you, the people who need to find you have a starting point. They have somewhere to start instead of starting on a wild goose chase without any clues as to your whereabouts. So that's all that's for, and I think it's really important. Another thing you need to do is do your research. This is really, really important because this is the difference between a great trip and a terrible trip. It's all about you doing your own research. So start with the government agency. They usually give you a good sort of roundabouts overview. And then you need to get your research from people who have actually been to the place you're visiting. I cannot stress that enough. You get this advice from people who have actually been there. You get a lot of different advice, okay? Now, on one end, you'll have people saying, yeah, this place is totally safe, there's no problems. You can just disregard that, they're full of shit, right? And the other end, you have people saying, oh, it's terrible, you can't go there, it's really unsafe or really scary, whatever. Disregard that, also full of shit. You want to focus on the people in the middle. These are the people who are going to give you the best most usable advice, okay? Because people saying that somewhere is completely safe, nowhere is completely safe. So that's a lie straight up, right? And then people saying that it's terrible, well, I could think of 100 places that are terrible that have had a fantastic time, so it's not really usable either. Okay, so you want to focus on these people. They might tell you, yeah, I had a great time, beware of these things. You know, they're not hiding the bad stuff or, you know, the negatives of a place, because all places have negatives. So watch out for these things, make sure you avoid these areas maybe, or whatever the case may be, and have a great time. That's the kind of advice you need. You need realistic advice that focuses on real life, not like extreme end of this made up world. And things you want to research, so places to stay, places to avoid, cultural norms like the things you should do, the things you shouldn't do, language, tipping, all those things. You want to know how that all works before you get there. You don't want to find out the hard way when you're by yourself. It's just keep yourself out of situations like that. Okay, the next one you need to know, pack practical clothing. This is so important, but it's so basic. But you have to remember that even though maybe it shouldn't be the case, it is the case that as a woman traveling alone, you have a bigger target on your back, right? People are going to notice you a bit more, and people with ill intent are going to be noticing everything about you, definitely. People like that are opportunistic. They want easy targets. They don't want a challenge, right? So don't make it easy for them. Don't make yourself a bigger target than you already are. So make sure you pack practical clothing, because that's one thing they're going to be looking for, right? If you're in a big flowy dress or something, you're not going to be able to run away easy, are you? You know, and if you're distracted with a hat and that's blocking out all your peripheral vision and things like that, it's going to be, you're just making their job easier. So make sure you pack really practical clothing, comfortable shoes that you can walk and run in if you needed to, and make sure the message you send with just what you wear and how you act is one of, this isn't going to be easy for you. Take self-defense classes. I can't recommend this enough. I think it's really important. Even if you're not solo traveling, I just think it's important for women to do because it can build your confidence so much. I did Krav Maga. This is my favorite. It's an Israeli form of self-defense. It's all focused on your instinctive reactions in real life situations. Like if somebody comes at you and puts their hands around your neck, your spinning back kick from karate is kind of useless. But in Krav Maga, you get to learn how to break a choke, and it's based on like, you're instinctively going to try and go like this. So the moves are kind of based on your instincts under pressure. It's fantastic. If you can't find that, find any self-defense class, because something is better than nothing, right? And I'll tell you, I've had to go sparring and fighting with men. Even when you're fighting someone, a man half your size, you can almost guarantee they're probably like stronger than you, right? So don't go into it thinking like, oh yeah, I lift weights or whatever, I can handle myself. Mate, you can't. You need to have a bit of help in that situation. And the good thing about Krav is it teaches you about avoidance, like avoiding situations before they become a problem. So you don't need to defend yourself. But I definitely think invest in some self-defense classes. Alright, that's my first video. That's the first video in this series. I hope you liked it. I hope there's some good tips in there for you that you can use. In the next video, we'll go through the travel tips for while you're actually out and about, traveling around by yourself, having a great time. Alright, we'll see you there. Don't forget to like and subscribe.